In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to secure a document in order to prevent somebody from editing a document or even opening it. We're going to talk a little bit about restricting editing. We're going to talk about a feature called Mark as Final, and then adding a password to your document. This is lesson 30 in our book. And so we're going to go to a page number. Remember, the page numbers are a little different in Chapter 4. This page number is going to be W-28. W-28 is the file name, or excuse me, the page number. We're going to open up this doc file. Enable the editing. We're going to save this file to our dated folder, and adding in there my initials at the end of this file name. Now this file is actually what is called a form. And what I mean by a form is it's got some text in here, but then there are places where I will enter my information in. So for example, there's a place here where you can enter in your name, to be able to enter in the street address, and so on, city, state, zip, and so on for my document here. And so what I want to do is I want to lock down the text that is already pre-typed in here. I don't want anybody to edit this text. I only want them to be able to enter in where I've put these form fields to be able to enter text into these spots. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Review tab. And here on the Review tab, we're going to click this button. It's the last button on the Review tab called Restrict Editing. And when you click on Restrict Editing, you've got this pane that opens on the right-hand side. Now, there are several different levels that you can do when it comes to restricting editing. And so the one that we're going to be concerned about, the one that, if this appears on the test, will be most likely this editing restriction option. So I'm going to put a check here that says, allow only this type of editing to be done. Notice the option that says no changes right now. If I chose to do this, alright, and then I said yes, start this type of protection, what that's going to do is it's going to lock this document down so that no one can make any changes to the document at all. They can open it, they can look at it, but they can't make changes to it. Well, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to have the ability for somebody to fill in forms. So I'm going to choose the option from this drop-down that says Filling in Forms. And what this does is it allows me then to lock this document down so that the text that's pre-typed can't be altered, but the form fields can be altered. What we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and say yes, start the enforcing protection, start enforcing this protection. Now it's asking me for a password here. Now, in all honesty, this isn't required. You could do this without a password, which we're not going to put a password in here. But understand this, if you don't put a password here, then that means that somebody could come in, if they know what they're doing, they could open this document, they could go to the Review tab, click on Restrict Editing, and then they could turn off this enforcement tool and then be able to make changes to anything in the document. What the password does is it prevents somebody from turning off this protection if you don't want them turning it off. If you're not concerned about that, if you don't think that anybody's going to turn it off unless they're supposed to, then you don't need to worry about a password. So we're going to do this without a password right now. So we're just going to leave this blank and click OK. And now protection is currently turned on, which means if you tried to select or edit this text up here, it won't let you do it. But you can still click here and type in your name if you wish to do that. Alright, so on each of these fields, we still can put in data. Alright, so this would be street address, for example. I can type in my information. Alright, let's go ahead and save that file. I'm going to click the Save button to save my work here. And now what I want to do is I want to give this file a different name. So we've saved the file already, so that's going to be saved with this protection turned on. So now we're going to save this with a different name, File Save As, putting it back into that same dated folder. And we're going to call this W30 try B. We're going to type in the letter B in there. So this is going to be try B. So I save this file. And what I want to do with try B is we're going to go ahead and turn this protection off. So if for some reason you closed out of this pane on the right hand side, you would need to go back to the Review tab, click back on Restrict Editing, and click on Stop Protection. Now because we didn't enter in any password, it just immediately stopped the protection so that I can now make changes to this document. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this Restrict Editing so that we can go on to the last two items that we wanted to do with this particular document. What I want to do now is I want to take this and I'm going to, if you type some data in here, you're going to want to get rid of that data. Alright. So I've gotten rid of the data that was here. What I want to do now is I want to mark this document as final. One of the ways that you can prevent somebody from making changes to a document, and honestly, the restrict editing, in my opinion, is the best way to keep somebody from being able to edit a document. You want them to view it, but not make changes. What you want to do is restrict editing and tell it no changes. Okay, that would prevent anybody from making changes to this document. However, the other way that the book wants us to be aware of and could show up potentially on the certification exam is something called Mark as Final. If you go to the File menu, and there is a section, remember this is called the Backstage view, called Protect Document. When you click on Protect Document, just as a note, notice that Restrict Editing is also here. This does exactly the same thing as we just talked about. It's another place where you can do this. The other option, which is what we're doing this time, is Mark as Final. And what this Mark as Final does is it will go ahead and it's going to ask me, do you want to mark the document as final? I'm going to say OK. What this does is it will save the file and it protects it. And let's show you how. I'm going to click back now to using my arrow here to my document. You'll notice up here it says that this file has been marked as final, and if you try to make any changes to the document, it's not going to let you make any changes anywhere in this document. So I just clicked up here and I hit the keys on my keyboard and I saw that nothing would happen. Notice that your ribbon tabs are kind of gone here. And even if you do click on them, everything's grayed out, or most everything is grayed out. That's because when this document is marked as final, it pretty much prevents somebody to make changes to the document. Here's the problem with this. All you have to do to allow changes to this is where this says marked as final, I can click on Edit Anyway. And once I do that, it removes the marked as final setting and allows people to make changes to the document. So yes, it does give us the ability to lock the document down so changes can't be made, but it's very easy for somebody to go ahead and say, no, I want to make changes anyway, and allows them to do that. The last thing we want to talk about is adding a password to a document. The two things that we just looked at, the restrict editing and the mark as final, what that's going to do is allow somebody to open the file, but possibly restrict what they can do in the file. What I want to do is prevent somebody from even opening the file unless they have a particular password. And for this, we're going to go right back where we just came from, File, and under Protect Document, there is an option that says Encrypt with Password. So I'm going to click on Encrypt with Password, and what this does is it will allow me to encrypt the document with the password. Please listen carefully and make sure you type in exactly what I tell you to do. We're going to type in the password oranges, O-R-A-N-G-E-S. No capitals in any of those letters, oranges. And I click OK. It asks me to re-enter it. I won't need to enter it again, oranges, O-R-A-N-G-E-S, and I click OK. This file now has a password associated with it. In order for me to open it, I will have to type that password in. If you've typed any other password other than oranges, then that means you didn't follow the instructions and therefore you wouldn't be able to get credit for this part of the exercise. So do make sure that you've properly typed that password in. At this point, if I go ahead and hit the Save button to save my file, I can now close this file. I'm going to go to my dated folder now. I'm going to navigate to my documents and find that dated folder that I've been using. And I'm going to locate that try B file. If I double click on that try B file, because it's password protected, it's going to prompt me for a password. So I'm going to type in oranges, and so long as I know the password, I can open that file and make changes to it. If I hadn't typed in that correct password, it would not have allowed me to open this file. So in this short lesson, we've looked at restrict editing. I got to it through the Review tab, but you could also click on the File menu and get to the same option of restricting the editing. We restricted it to allow for form fill only. We showed you how to mark as final. We did that again through File, and Protect Document. And then we showed you how to add a password. I believe the actual wording in the document, in the Word program, is encrypt with password. And what that'll do is it'll set a password on that file so that without that password somebody cannot open the file at all.